If you want more time, money, freedom, and have a business that's not reliant on you, then you're in the right place. Each week, Mark Creedon, along with some of the very best business minds in the world, will take you through simple, practical steps you can take to create the business you always wanted. From his own practical experience, Mark will show you how to work less, make more, and get the business you always wanted, the one that you deserve. Now here's your host, one of Australia's most sought-after business coaches, Mark Creedon.
Welcome to the Mastermind for Business podcast. This podcast is for you, the small business owner. If you feel like you're trapped, like you're enslaved to the business, like the business isn't doing what you really wanted it to do when you first started, and you really wish you had more time, more freedom, every week we're going to share with you some really simple tips and tricks that will help you to build a business and not just a job, and have a business which is far less reliant on you. In this episode, Nick and I are going to be talking about video, social media, and some really simple things that you can do that will make producing content a bit of a cinch and take a whole bunch of pressure off you. Let's get that underway. Welcome to the latest edition of the Mastermind for Business podcast. In this episode, Nick and I are going to be talking about video, social media, content creation. Mate, right up your alley.
It is.
This is the stuff that you do. This
I'm
is
excited.
this is what you do. Nick, let's talk about. We've spoken before. You've been very generous with your time in the past on the episodes of this Mastermind for Business podcast, but let's talk about video first.
Yeah.
How powerful is video as a marketing tool?
Oh, video marketing is forever growing, and it is the most powerful form of marketing today. It's, I think over 5 times more powerful than written content.
Yep.
And I think the big thing about it is, this is what I love to tell people, is that it's this huge, big giant now, and it's probably the leader of marketing when it comes to all types of marketing, especially on social media. But it's not too late. That's the great thing about video marketing, is that it's not too late. There's still a window of opportunity there. It's right in its middle growth phase. So there's still a huge opportunity to take advantage of the success that it's bringing people.
Yeah. In another episode, we might talk about AI and the impact that AI will have on video.
Yeah, look, that's definitely
It's probably a whole episode.
Yes.
How well do you think, generally speaking, say people in small to medium business are using video now, is the first part. And the second part is, how hard is it to effectively use video?
Look, it's not hard at all. I think if you have a look at the amount of people consuming, it's ridiculous.
Yep.
I mean, you've got over, in the main spaces these days, you're looking at Instagram Reels and TikTok.
Yep.
Okay, that's really where most of the video marketing is heading.
Yep.
YouTube Shorts and Facebook coming back into the fold a little bit somewhat, but that's where the main juice is Instagram Reels and TikTok. There's over 1 billion monthly active users on both of those platforms.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
1 billion. So the audience is massive.
Yep.
Right. So the reach is never going to be an issue.
Yep.
I think the problem that some people are facing these days is that we think that we can just record a film, shoot a movie, shoot a quick video, put it out there to the world, and that they're going to hear and accept our message.
Yep.
But these days, it's the people's attention spans, people's viewing is changing. So the way that they view and the way that they consume content has really changed.
Let's talk about that.
So look, people are doing extremely well and extremely successfully. I know that, I think some people put 90% of their marketing focus purely on video because that's just where they're getting results. The people that are doing it really well are doing it consistently.
Yep.
That's definitely the key, no matter what.
Yep.
You can have the best video in the world, and then you can have the second best video in the world. But if you're not consistent in between those, unfortunately, you're just not going to get the traction on them that you're after. But, going back to, I guess, the amount of people and people's mindset when they're consuming content, I was lucky enough, going on a little while ago now, a few months ago, I was watching a TikTok conference. They were doing a live conference.
Right.
They're the head of TikTok, and they were talking about, how they perceive themselves in the market. And I'm getting back to this. There is a reason that I'm telling you this. But how they perceive themselves in the market it was really, really interesting to me, because, you would assume that they would see themselves as main competitors to those Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and all of those.
Yep.
But the way that they see themselves and the way that they see their content is actually more along the lines of the Netflix, the Disney Plus,
right,
the streaming platforms.
Right.
The reason for that is that people are consuming content like never before.
Yep.
So people are spending on average 2 hours a day on TikTok scrolling through video.
I think we've got one of those guys that works here. He spends at least 2 hours a day in the toilet. So
Well, he's probably on TikTok the whole time. That's almost on par with Netflix and their numbers in regards to pure just consumption.
Yep.
So sitting in front of a screen and just consuming video.
Yep.
Now, that's a massive opportunity.
Yeah.
The audience is there. They're consuming more than they ever have before.
Yep.
But where people are struggling and finding the issues, I believe, is that they're not cutting through because there is so much out there.
Right, because there's so much out there. So you've got to have. It's like, I guess you go back to traditional media, right? If you had a billboard on the side of a road,
yep,
and it's a really busy highway, and there's a billboard, and everybody driving past sees it, you'll probably get some cut through. But if you had 40 billboards all next to each other, then the
not
ability
gonna have the same effect.
No, it's not. It's
Not
not.
at all.
And it's the same thing. It's this level of cut through.
Yes, definitely.
So I want to talk to you about how we get around that white noise stuff in a second.
Yep.
But before we do that, let's just go back to how easy it is to do, because it's actually easier than a lot of people think, isn't it?
Look, 100%. And, it, like anything, I think it seems so daunting.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And it can be.
Yeah.
Like anything, if we haven't done it before, it's daunting. Right?
Yeah, but see, that gets back to what we were saying in the last episode, right, about procrastination.
100%.
Where we go, do you know what? Just get started, man.
Get a start. And
Yeah.
that is my number one tip to anyone that's listening that wants to get started in the world of video. They see all these great videos out there. I guarantee you, the people who aren't doing video within their business, go home and watch other businesses' videos on TikTok and on Instagram.
Yeah.
So you know that people are doing it. You know that it's obviously working for people. And I guess it's just such a daunting prospect, or you feel like maybe you don't have the personality for it, or you don't feel like you have the time for it. Whatever excuse you're making up for yourself, the key to getting a start on anything is getting a start.
Yeah.
Pick up your phone, take a couple of videos yourself, and you always, and that's how easy it is. That's seriously.
So let's talk about that, because the reality is not everybody can afford to do what we do.
No.
And, I'm very fortunate that my business can afford to pay you an extraordinarily large sum of money.
Thank you for that. Yeah.
Checks in the mail. But seriously, so we're in the position where we can afford to get you to come in, bring all your gear, set up.
Yep.
We got, as we're recording this, we've got a couple of cameras, we've got lights, we've got all this stuff going on, and we're in a position to be able to do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can produce really good quality video for us. But the reality is that we could, at a push, record something like this on a phone.
Oh, easily. Yeah, definitely.
And so it's not, whilst the quality is relevant, and we actually don't do a lot of editing of this stuff because we keep the authenticity running.
Mm-hmm.
Whilst the quality is relevant, it's not the only thing that we need to focus on, is it?
No. Look, and that's why I don't like to refer to myself as a videographer.
No, correct.
Because a videographer will come out and they will set up and they will get the best shot for you.
Yep.
They will have the best angle, they'll have the best lighting, the best equipment. And it's not that I don't have good equipment. You can see the stuff here, but it's just not what it's about.
Yeah.
That is not what's going to get you the results that you're after in your business. It will look great.
Yep.
You may think, hey, that looks fantastic. That looks really great. You spent 10 grand on it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And it looks fantastic. It looks great. But what impact has it really had?
Yeah, see, that's the thing, because one of the things we talk about in Mastermind all the time is about understanding the message. And we talk about, the avatar hot button. So we go, when you're putting a message together, you want to make sure that you're speaking the language of the person who's going to hear it. Because the way to grow a business, and this is all sort of relating back to the purpose of this podcast, which is help people to build a business that's less reliant on them.
Yep.
But the way to grow a business is not to shout from the hilltops about your service or product, but to whisper the right words in. I went to touch my ear then, but I've got headphones on. But to whisper the right words into the right ear at the right time.
Yes.
And so spending, a shit ton of money on producing really slick videos could be a waste if it isn't the right directed content.
100%. If the message is not sinking in,
Yep.
there's no sense in making it. If you're not clear on your message, clear on who you're trying to deliver it to,
Yep.
it's great that it looks good, probably
Yep.
sounds great, looks
Yep.
the part, looks fantastic.
But that's it.
But it's going to fall on deaf ears.
A billboard in a cul-de-sac if we go back to that.
100%.
Yeah.
And, I think people fall into that trap quite a lot because in their mind, they just want to look great.
Yeah.
Right? Something that's extremely aesthetically pleasing.
Yep.
You automatically think in your brain, well, people are going to love this because I love it.
Well, the other thing too, I think, to be fair, I think that lots of people in business have been told that over time.
Oh, definitely.
If you want to produce great content, you've got to spend a ton of money doing it.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, great content's really important, but there is a way of finding a balance and finding that balance. And so even if somebody can't afford to get all of this professionally shot, and let's be clear, I'm making an unashamed plug here for you. But the reality is, even just getting advice from you on how to make themselves look better on the product that they produce and speak to their audience in a way that's going to get cut through is something really pretty much everybody could afford.
It's really hard to wrap your head around. But when you have the most expensive camera in the world that's filming yourself delivering a message, right? And you've spent all the money on the most expensive camera in the world that's actually taking the footage of yourself, but you haven't put the same amount of time, energy, effort into yourself. Into it. A camera cannot create camera presence.
Right. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
That is up to you.
Yeah. It just sees what's in the lens.
Right. So whatever is there, it's going to capture.
Yep.
And like I said, it might be aesthetically pleasing, but if you don't have the presence to deliver what you're trying to deliver, then it's never going to have the impact that you desire.
You've used the term a couple of times there, but I really like it, which is presence. It would be easier to then go, okay, well, if I can't afford to get a really slick video production, as long as I say the right things, then that's good enough. But in fact, it's not just about saying the right things.
No,
it's
not at
about
all.
what you say, how you say it, when you say it.
If you want someone to listen to you, like anything in life, right?
Yep.
Having them feel comfortable, like you're relatable, and being really, what I love to use is being really intentional about what you're showing them and what they're hearing.
Yep.
Okay, so whatever they see and what they hear is extremely intentional on your part.
Yep.
And you can do that with any camera in the world.
Yeah.
You can do that with your iPhone, anything.
But there's some little tricks too, isn't there?
Of
So, for
course
example,
there
what's
is.
the old saying? Long distance, big voice.
Yes.
Short distance, small voice.
Right.
Yeah. So I know when I've had to shoot something really quickly and I grab it on my phone and I'll lean in and out of the phone.
Yep.
And I'll change my voice modulation to match it, all stuff that you've taught me.
Yes.
That's what you're talking about when you're talking about presence, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And there's ways to deliver certain lines or certain pieces of content or certain messages
Yep.
in a different voice,
Yes.
a different tone, a different, I guess, body position,
Yep.
a different background.
Yep.
Being intentional about what they're seeing and hearing is going to deliver the message in the way that you want it delivered.
Yeah.
The only way to do that is to practice.
Yep.
And to obviously get some advice. And, like you said, I'm not trying to give myself a plug. I actually tell people, you don't need me to bring all this equipment out and do all this for you straight away for you to get started.
Yep.
The important thing is to just get started. I would rather people go out and film a couple of videos on their phone and get the hang of it and then spend some money on it. Because there's no sense in spending money on something if you're not going to put the time into getting used to it or make yourself accustomed to it and warm yourself up to it. You can't expect someone to come out, set up a camera and deliver, Mark Boris quality Instagram reels for you because Mark's put the time in.
Yeah.
Mark's put the effort in.
Yeah.
Right? He's done the training.
It's really interesting you say that because a good mate of mine, Kevin Turner, so KT, Kevin's been a real estate commentator forever and a day, a radio announcer, got an amazing voice for that sort of stuff. So he knows all of that stuff, right? But I always remember going to a video shoot with KT once and he knew his stuff. He knows how to present to camera.
Yep.
He knows how to use his voice to modulate it. He knew all of that. But when he got there, the videographer said, "Oh, I've got a script and I want you to work off this teleprompter."
Right.
And the end product wasn't KT.
No, someone else. Someone else's words.
Yeah, and it just wasn't him. And it didn't. And if you're listening, KT, I love you, and this is not a criticism, mate, but it wasn't him.
Yeah.
And so when
And you can tell, right?
right, and so I was
Straight
actually
away.
I was on the shoot and I was listening to it. I was going, oh,
And you know what's funny about that is that Kevin,
yes,
right? But someone who's listening to that who doesn't even know Kevin, subconsciously will pick up on that.
yeah, because it just you know what? It didn't have authenticity.
No, not at all.
But when he reshot it, I went, guys, I didn't like that. I don't feel comfortable. And he reshot it and got rid of the auto cue,
Put it into his own words.
putting it into his own words.
Yep.
It was like all of his content. It was cracking.
Yep. Yeah.
Right?
And I think that's something that I really focus on myself in what I do is to get the most best authentic version of yourself.
Because that's what sells. I was watching a video of Dan Martell the other day and he was saying, there's that old saying, people buy people, not products.
Yep.
But he was saying what people actually buy is your DNA. They buy, it's not just buying you, the person. So it's not just buying Nick. It's actually buying what you are and what you represent and what your core values and who you are at your very core is what they buy.
Yes.
When they're buying services, right? Different buying products.
Like anything, right? If having someone like you goes a long way in anything, right?
Yeah.
That's sales 101.
Right.
If
they like
can
you, they
build
probably trust
rapport,
you. Yeah.
They're going to, there's confidence in that you know what you're talking about.
Yep.
They can trust you to deliver on the promises that you've made, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
Right. So having someone say, I like you goes a long way. So how do we do that? We need to project ourselves as relatable people. We need to be real and authentic.
Yep.
No one can like you if you're not being you.
Yeah.
So what we need to do is we need to find a way to deliver the message that you intend on delivering without it coming across as unauthentic, without it coming across as robotic.
Yep.
Okay. And with it being your message delivered in your way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's always going to have more impact and much more cut through than anything that's scripted and put on a teleprompter.
Yes, I like that.
And some people, look, don't get me wrong, it's a daunting thing. Right? Some people don't have, the same brain as everyone else where they can, I guess, remember everything that they wanted to say.
Yep.
Right? So some people need a teleprompter to revisit, remind themselves. Yep.
And nothing wrong with that.
100%.
But you're not saying that you have to do it off the cuff.
No. Because that's not everyone has that ability.
No. Because you use teleprompters when you
100%. Yeah,
when
I
you
do.
shoot video.
I give that as an option.
Yep.
But what we do is when using a teleprompter is we try and coach the talent to make sure that you're connecting with the audience still.
Yep.
So it's important, like anything, if you're meeting with someone, it's important, one of the first things you learn is when you're shaking hands with someone is to make eye contact.
Yep.
So we make sure that we focus on certain things like body language and eye contact and things like that, so that your presence is you're still delivering the message to the audience or to the person that you're speaking to.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
But you've got something to keep you on track.
Yeah.
So everyone works differently. In my mind, the absolute best videos are when you're passionate.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So when you're talking about something you love, and there's some things that we do that sort of, I guess, can bring that out of you.
Yep.
In times when, you're not necessarily talking about something that you're overly passionate about.
Yep.
But there's ways and triggers that we use to get ourselves into that mind frame.
Yep.
So that when we do step in front of the camera, and
We're
one
there.
of those, look, I'll give you one now. One of those is a really simple one. And it's to imagine one person that will find some value out of the message that you're about to deliver.
Yep.
Everyone knows someone, right?
Yep.
We were just talking about procrastination.
Yep.
Right? That was directed at me 100%. Right?
Yep.
I could name you a few other people that could be directed at.
Yep.
So think of one specific person who will find at least a little bit of value in what you're about to talk about.
Yep.
Okay. And rather than reading a script, rather than staring down the barrel of the camera, because I always say there's no way that you can love a camera.
Yes.
Right? It's an inanimate object.
Inanimate object, yep.
That's what people always say. And I think Mo McRae, the Australian film director, he has actually said that before, where it's impossible to love a lens.
Yep.
And it's impossible to love a lens.
It's a good bloke, Mo. Had a couple of beers with Mo in my time. So.
Yeah, so it is impossible to love a lens. It's impossible to love a camera. So using that person and imagining that person,
Yes.
and that you're talking to them specifically when you're delivering this message.
Yeah.
You're trying to convince them of this message, or you're trying to deliver this message with as much passion to let it sink into that person so that they can take advantage of it and take that value away. That's a really great tool and trigger to use to be able to break out of that robotic sort of shell and be able to deliver it in a much smoother, I guess, natural, more authentic to yourself way.
Yep. Yeah, it's so. I mean, I know that this is the sort of stuff you do. Hey, listen, unashamed plug again. If somebody wants to talk to you about how they can learn how to have greater presence on camera.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. And not about necessarily saying, can you bring a whole bunch of gear out to my place and shoot this stuff? Can we just talk about, Nick, how can I, you've given us one hint.
Yep.
How can I increase my presence on camera? What do they do?
So we do a 6-week course called the Video Squad.
Yep.
And it's essentially 1 hour Zooms once a week over 6 weeks. And we run through everything from essentially around that basis around camera presence.
Yep.
So, when it comes to vocal modulation, as you said, camera, positioning yourself, backgrounds, all that sort of stuff, the rule of 2/3.
Yep.
Plenty of things, I guess, to make sure that whenever you're on camera, this isn't just when you're filming content. A lot of our lives these days are spent on camera. We're FaceTiming clients, where we're on Zooms with clients and with our colleagues every day.
Yep.
Right. So we're on camera all the time. So to be able to increase that presence and know just a few little things that can bring the best out of yourself so that you can show up on camera every time. So we run those every few months. The next one is running in August. So it's a 6-week course. And as I said, it's really simple. You jump on an hour every week. We go over a whole bunch of stuff.
Yep.
We set up a private Facebook group. It's a really tight-knit group.
Yep.
We normally do about 4 people.
Yep.
And I find that's best so that, it's not too crowded. I feel like it's a really daunting prospect to share things with a lot of people when you first started doing video.
Yeah.
And one of the hardest things is, and it's one of the things that we talk about, is sharers. There's different levels of people when making content. There's the starters, the hopers, that, looking at content, they're watching it when they go home. They wish that they could make content like that. They don't know how. Right? They need to get a start. Then there's sharers. And the sharers are people who are getting it out there and they're putting the content, may not be getting the results that they want. But then there's the ones in the middle. And the ones in the middle who are making content. They've made that start, but they're not at that point yet where they're ready to share it. They're not confident enough in their product that they're able to share it yet.
Yep.
So there's a real space there, I guess, of people. And that's where I feel like a lot of people sit.
Yeah,
They've given it a go.
I would think so.
And they haven't necessarily been able to find out what works for them to be able to put it out. So this sort of helps with that as well. We open up a small Facebook group, a private Facebook group, and we share videos after every session. We share videos with each other as practice.
Sometimes the worst part is, you shoot a video and then you watch it yourself and you go, oh, do I really look like that? Do I really sound like that?
Yeah, 100%. And everyone, everyone has that issue.
But can I say that you move, like having now done, quite a lot of video work, you move past that?
Oh, 100%. I think that's the first thing you move past. The next thing you move past is that imposter syndrome of, why would someone take the time to watch a video of me talking?
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Why is someone going to take their time out of their day to sit there and listen to me blabber on about something?
Because I've got something valuable
100%. And
to
that's
that
just
one
you.
person.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. And if 300 people watch your video, but one person gets great value out of it,
Yep.
that's a win.
Yeah, 100%. And I guess that's the other thing too. We've got to be careful because we look at, people like, I don't know, The Beast or Alex Hormozy or
100%. That's
Dan Martell or
day 5,000 versus day one.
Yeah, right.
So
Yep.
if you're day one, there's no sense in watching people at day 5,000 and try and compare yourself to them.
I mean, when it comes to sort of, investing in property and wealth building, Michael Yardney always says you shouldn't compare your chapter 3 with his chapter 42.
100%. Yeah, 100%. It's because you're only going to set yourself up for disappointment. That's the video squad. And that's what we do, is trying to, I guess, break down those barriers so that after the 6 weeks, you go, well, you know what? I'm in a much better position now. I've done some practice.
Yep.
I can get someone out to come and do some content for me.
Yep.
Whatever.
And that's the thing. It's incremental, right? So we were saying in the last episode about how do you achieve a goal? By breaking it down one step at a time, by actually making a start, by giving it a go. And how this fits in, I think, to this podcast is that the more that you can get someone to help you to produce this sort of content, the more that you can get someone to help you to get this out, the less the business becomes reliant on you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then ultimately, the less hard you are working at trying to bring business in because you're creating this great content creation model to get your message out to your audience.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, one of the other big issues I think people have when it comes to this sort of stuff, or what I don't think it's really an issue. It's more so an excuse that people use to avoid doing or getting a start on video content, is that, you don't have the time. It's a time consuming thing.
Yeah.
Right. And that's something that we take care of, that we like to focus on as well. One of the other things that we do is we do a batching service.
I was about to talk about batching. Yeah.
So, and that's really important. If you're at the point where you're ready to do some content, but you just think that it's going to be too time consuming, batching is 100% the key.
So one of the things that we teach our mastermind clients in terms of, time management, if you like, which I think is just vitally important, but I think it's, I think there's a lot of people out there teaching time management that probably shouldn't be, but is the concept of batching, right? Being able to batch your time, batch your emails, batch your phone, batch your appointments, set certain times.
You just have to these days, right? There's not enough hours in the day.
No, that's right. I mean, I think Taki Moore refers to it as spanksing your calendar, right? Just dropping a pair dropping a pair of spanks on your calendar.
Yep.
So batching emails, and you and I have done that over time too. We've spent a couple of hours and we've produced a bucket load of content within those 2 hours by cutting things up. Where do they find you, Nick?
So you can find me on socials. You can email me, nick@creedoncontent.com.au. Give me a buzz.
Yep. So probably nick@creedoncontent.com.au was a bit of an unashamed plug, but I really appreciate all the work that you do in bouncing around on the podcast with me, mate. So it's nice to see. And can I say, I've known a number, we've put a number of our team and our mastermind clients have gone through the video squad and they've always come out so much more confident about their presence at the other end. So nick@creedoncontent.com.au, mate, it's been good to have a chat with you again.
Thanks.
Guys, these are the things that we teach our clients all the time in our Mastermind for Business program. If you'd like to know more about how you can build a business that's a whole lot less reliant on you, metropolemastermind.com.au. If you don't think you're ready to take that step yet, but you'd just like to know some of the, like a peek behind the curtains, get a few hints on how you can do that, haveabusinessnotajob.com.au, where you'll be able to grab a copy of my book, which is Have a Business, Not a Job, How to Have a Business, Not a Job. You can grab a copy of the book. In terms of the podcast, please, if you like what you've heard, share it with your friends, like, subscribe.
Comment, get it out there.
By all means, and jump on our socials as well. So jump on the socials. If you've got a topic that you'd like to hear more about in future episodes of the podcast, send us a message or jump onto our socials and flick a message on there, and we will do our very best to get that through. I was just thinking, Nick, probably too, if you've got a question, guys, if you've got a question that you'd like to see, maybe not a topic, but a particular question you'd like to see answered in the podcast, again, at mark@metropole.com.au, or just get on the socials and give us the message. Thank you, mate. Until the next episode.
Thanks, guys.
Make sure you spend time with those who matter most. It's why we do what we do. We'll see you next time in the next episode for the Mastermind for Business podcast.